my pleasure to have another debate for you right now, and I'm going to invite onto the stage, without any further ado, Paul Griffiths, who is Chief Executive Officer of Dubai Airports, and please also welcome Anthony El-Khoury, who is General Manager UAE for Joby Aviation. So, Paul, Anthony, do join me. Where are you? There you are. Hi, Paul. Good to see you. Anthony, welcome. Do take a seat. I think when we are talking hospitality, we're talking about this extraordinary growth story here in this region. It's easy to forget that this isn't just all about, the development, construction, and operation of extraordinary new hotels, of the investment that is going into hospitality and leisure. It's also about the mechanics of moving millions of passengers in and out of this region. And so really this little discussion is going to drill down into how to make more efficient and a better user experience, the whole sort of experience of flying into Dubai and then getting from the airport to your final destination. So we've got Paul and we've got Anthony. Anthony's story is fascinating because Joby Aviation is committed to the idea of establishing a commercial air taxi service. And Dubai is where this experiment is going to be, well, let's not call it an experiment, let's call it reality, but it's going to be rolled out in the next year or two. And of course, that means Anthony is working with Paul because Paul, as the boss of Dubai Airports, is going to, in essence, make it happen. So Paul, I'm going to ask you first just to lay out the story of Dubai and meeting the challenge of this extraordinary number of people who want to visit this place, how you cope with it. And I know you've got a major transition ahead, but tell me the story of Dubai and its airports.
Well, Stephen, thank you for that introduction. I mean, I think the journey of Dubai Airports has been quite phenomenal. And if I may personalize it, 18 years ago, I was sitting at my desk at Gatwick Airport where I was running a fairly sizable operation. It was about the 7th largest airport in the world. And I got a call saying, Dubai's got some very big ambitions. Would you like to come and lead that? And I've always been one to accept impossible challenges and challenges that were pretty challenging. And I just thought, that sounds like fun. So I got on the plane with my suitcases on a one-way ticket, and my family and I arrived here for a bit of an adventure. And my goodness, what an adventure that was.
You didn't lose your suitcases at that point,
I didn't lose my suitcases, no. And that's one thing that we've made very clear, that we do not want to lose people's suitcases. But the incredible thing is, of course, within a fairly short space of time, I had the sort of slight satisfaction overtaking Heathrow 11 years ago as the world's largest international airport. And I think the thing is that we overcomplicate what we're trying to do sometimes. And if you think about it in its most basic form, an airport is there to facilitate the interchange between journeys that never leave the ground to journeys that actually move aloft into the sky. And if we can't deliver that effectively and efficiently, then we're failing at our most small job, really. And I think the thing is that we've looked at this slightly differently, and I make no apology to those assembled in front of me today that we've shamelessly plagiarized the hospitality industry. Because I remember, and I can't name the company for legal reasons, sitting in front of an airport CEO just to the west of London and asking him about, how he saw the airline relationships. And I was working with Richard Branson for Virgin Atlantic at the time, and he said to me, well, the airlines are suppliers of our customers. We sell them something, then we put them on the aeroplane and off they go. And I just thought, if I told my boss that, he'd punch you, because he's the one spending all the marketing money. And actually, I've always regarded the airports as being a very, very critical part of the supply chain for those who are maintaining that business-to-consumer relationship, whether it's in hospitality or the airlines. So we've tried to put together a very efficient machine, which is basically purposed with the idea of getting people through the facility as quickly as possible. And, you know, I don't know if I could have a show of hands. Anyone here would like to spend more time at airports around the world? Normally, I get one or two geeky types that put their hands up, but perhaps you're all too...
But there is, I mean, there were no hands going up, but there is this notion that the airport has to be an experience. And
Well, indeed, but a positive experience, not a negative one. And unfortunately, too many are quite negative. And I just thought, well, what is the greatest thing we can do for our customers? And we realized that the best thing we could do is to respect their time. And actually, if we can eliminate all of those painstaking processes that we all go through, sticking paper tags onto baggage and telling people, yes, I've bought my ticket and I've paid and I've selected my seat, so I actually do want to fly, so why am I checking in? And then, of course, the things we've done at DXB, like the ability to go through passport control without taking a passport out of your pocket, that's just a glimpse of the future. We're trying to do great things with airport security to make it more friendly and just as secure, if not more secure, but actually quicker. And the great thing about this is one of the big challenges that I had when I arrived is my dear chairman, Sheikh Ahmed, said to me, I've only got one KPI for you, and that is do not constrain the growth of aviation here in Dubai. So pretty clear if you succeed or fail on a single KPI. And so we've been quite obsessed with the idea of improving capacity and service. The big problem, of course, with DXB was that it's hemmed in on four sides. It's a relatively small airport, and we've tried to get phenomenal throughput through. And the way we've done that is by, you know, re-engineering all those processes to make them very, very efficient, and also trying to dial up the hospitality element so that everyone there understands that it's the airline customers, you know, are paying our salaries.
but you are getting close to capacity, aren't you?
Well, we are, but we keep finding new ways of eking out more and more capacity. And what we decided was that as we don't really have the space to build more and more infrastructure, there must be a smarter way. And we worked out the quite simple premise that if you can actually hand people back half the time it takes to check in and go through the process, you can actually, in the same time, get double the number of people through the same size of facility. So in terms of saving capital, improving the customer experience, and increasing capacity, it's a real win-win-win situation.
But, and this is where I'm very soon going to draw Anthony into the conversation, it's not just about the throughput through things like immigration and getting people to the gate as efficiently as possible. It's also a story about what happens to people when they want to get in and out of the airport property into Dubai, or whether they're going to Abu Dhabi or wherever. I mean, how satisfied are you with the customer experience at the moment in terms of volumes of car traffic in and around the airport, the ability to ensure that journeys are smooth and time efficient?
That's a very good question, and I think the answer is unfortunately becoming increasingly dissatisfied because of the phenomenal success of the city. I mean, we now experience levels of traffic that we haven't seen since about 2007, and I think the difficulty is the city is growing at such a large rate, and there are more and more developments coming on, that my conversations with Matar Al-Taher at the RTA are increasingly about, well, what is the long-term strategic plan for mobile transportation within Dubai? Because we need a long-term solution.
It's getting problematic, and
It is.
traffic is bad.
Once you're on the forecourt at the airport, I think things happen fairly smoothly. It's once you get beyond it. If you're traveling north to the airport, say for a flight in the evening, it can take you double the amount of time that it takes at other times of the day. So it's becoming a problem, which is why I think...
Yeah, well, rather neatly, you're now
yeah.
handing on to Anthony, because Anthony, you have a vision, and I should explain, Anthony used to work for Uber, so he was all about running an efficient sort of consumer-driven taxi ride service, but you've now switched from ground transportation to thinking about air transportation, but in terms of a sort of ubiquitous taxi service. So explain to folks the vision. What do you hope to achieve with Joby Aviation?
I want to say that Paul makes it easy. As you think about reducing people's time at airport, we think about reducing people's time in the car. So the reality is, as you said, Dubai is becoming more and more congested. I think the RTA is trying very hard to build more infrastructure, but the reality is we will get to a place where we're at capacity. And this is not only in Dubai, we see the same in New York and in other great cities. So the idea is to move from a 2D space to a 3D space. And ultimately, and I know we discussed that, the air is unlimited. There's corridors across the board. You can fly 100 feet higher or lower. You can go right and left. So we really have tremendous space in our air.
When we were chatting earlier, you told me that, and I said, "Are you kidding? Air space is unlimited around most airports. It's the most controlled and limited thing you can think of. I mean, there are so many security and safety issues around airspace and airports that." When you're talking about establishing an air taxi service, my initial thought is, how on earth can that be safe?
Yeah, so the reality is next to the airports, you do have controlled airspace. But if you look at MBZ, which is the airspace in Dubai, it's not controlled at all. And you have helicopters flying. And although Dubai has some helicopters, it's still nascent. You have a couple of helicopters, you have 3-4 operators. So you really have tremendous capacity. And this is our vision. Our vision is to take air taxis seriously, and this is why we've been building the adequate aircraft. So going back to the aircraft, which is important for people to note, it is not a helicopter, it's an eVTOL. It's electric, it's vertical, takeoff and landing. So what happens is that it takes off vertically, which gives us maneuverability. It can easily drop you off anywhere in the city, and it transitions onto the wing as it flies to build both speed and efficiency.
And it's powered by?
Batteries.
By batteries, totally all electric.
Totally electric. It has a range of 160 kilometers, so it's Dubai to Ras Al Khaimah, Dubai to Abu Dhabi easily. It flies at 320 kilometers an hour.
How much, sorry?
320 kilometers an hour.
It's quick.
It's
quicker than a helicopter.
30-40% quicker than a helicopter. It has a payload of 450 kilograms, so that's a pilot and 4 passengers. So it is piloted. It's a piloted aircraft that carries 4 passengers, electric, and easily. Yeah.
We don't, unfortunately, have a prototype with us. So what does it look like? Does it look more like a very small plane, or
I want to say
does it look like a helicopter?
It's between both. So it looks like a drone.
Looks like a
it
drone.
It has 6 propellers, and the beauty of it is that I'm not sure if you know the V-22 Osprey, the military aircraft that transitions. So the wings transition as it picks up speed.
Right.
And this is how it can really build
So
on
you
efficiency.
two, between you, are cooking up a plan that next year you're going to start trialing, offering a very small number of passengers the possibility of leaving the airport by way of an electric taxi plane.
I don't want to say cooking, I think it's more than that. So the first vertiport, as we call them, has been built, almost built. It's being built next to Dubai International Airport in front of the Emirates headquarters. The delivery of this vertiport is Q1 2026. So again, this is not a distant future. This is a dream that is coming to reality as early as next year.
Next spring.
Next year.
Right. And how many planes will you have?
Currently, we're going to have 1 aircraft. So we do have 1 aircraft that is in Dubai as we speak. It is flying at Margham, which is a little bit into the desert. We've been doing demonstration to the regulator.
Paul, have you flown it?
He has
I haven't
seen
flown it, but I've seen
scared?
it, and it's incredibly impressive. And I would say that, I mean, I chatted to the pilot who's flown both the F-35 and the Harrier, and he said to me, and you know, I'm not a pilot, so I'm not even an amateur pilot. You know, he said I could sit you in this and I could teach you to fly it in about 20 minutes. And I think, you know, if he's sincere about that, I'd love to take him up on that one time. But the most impressive thing about this aeroplane, it is V1.0. I'm just so excited as to what the future of this technology is, because, you know, if you've been to San Francisco and you've sat in a Waymo and you've been driven around the streets with no driver in the cab, you can actually see that this technology in practice in 2 dimensions, in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
I think the capacity element of this is incredibly exciting. You know, we live in a great time to be alive, because if you look at the way technology is evolving, it's evolving so quickly. We're limited not by the technology itself, but by the power of our ability to imagine how we can use it more effectively.
Well, I think one of the things about FHS is that they want to inspire people with a sort of vision of a future that is better than the current options in front of us. And I can see that in theory, this is an amazing idea that we can all one day walk out of an airport which is in a congested space, and we can take a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft to get us very quickly to our destination. The reality, though, is that, as you say, you're rolling out your first prototype to actually do commercial flying in the first quarter of next year. That's going to handle a very, very few number of passengers. So realistically, give me a time frame, both of you, because then we've got to stop. A time frame when we all, as travelers to both Dubai and the wider world, can expect to see this technology rolled out to the point where we, as travelers, might think about using it.
I would say the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see it more and more used. And again, we're starting with one aircraft, and we're going to very quickly roll out other aircraft. Currently, we produce one aircraft per month. A big chunk of them are going to the FAA, which is the regulator in the US. But after that, a large majority of these aircrafts are coming to Dubai because it's going to be the first commercial market.
But will it be cripplingly expensive? Will it only be an option for the super rich?
We haven't finalized, but I want to say it's going to be affordable. Like, you're going to be surprised how affordable it's going to be.
For the many, not the few.
For the many, not the few.
Okay. And Paul, a final thought from you. You've got a lot on your plate because you're transitioning over the next, decade, less than a decade, to a brand new airport, phasing out DXB as it currently is and going to DWC, I think the acronym is. I mean, is this part of the future that you are planning for?
Absolutely. We've got to have a revolution in ground-based transportation for all sorts of reasons. And I think the thing is, the most exciting thing about this is that the ability for eVTOLs to form part of a network and to be controlled by AI and separated by AI unlocks that unlimited capacity, which I think we all need. And I think the thing is, once we get beyond version 1.0, and let's face it, if this was 1903 and we were Wilbur and Orville Wright, and you were saying, how many passengers will your aeroplane hold? And the answer is just about one, and we can fly 50 yards. You'd think we were mad to be suggesting this. But we live in a very different age. Versions 2.0, 3.0 will be bigger, greater payload, longer range, much, much cheaper to operate. And I think with the vertiport and the interface we're developing, that will be a commonplace part of every airport design for the future. And, you heard it first here in Dubai.
Indeed.
We will definitely be first, and it will be a revolutionary way to get between the airport and the particular location that you start and finish from.
Well, you know what? As you say, it is great to hear that Dubai is absolutely at the forefront of this potential transportation revolution. F is for future. You've given us an insight into the future. So thank you, both of you, Paul and Anthony, very much for joining me on the stage. I'm going to have to invite you to leave now because we're very pressed for time, but thank you both very much indeed. Give them a very warm round of applause.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, guys.